Om Namo Gurudev Namo, 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 Om Namo Gurudev Namo. In this video, I feel guided to be a channel of higher wisdom. I allow my higher self to guide me, to collaborate with me, to channel through me this vessel that is I. for this lifetime. There are powerful messages that want to come through now. Higher Self, help me to easily channel these messages in a way that is direct and that can bring clarity to those who will watch this video. My intention is for this to resonate with all who watch this. My intention is for these channel messages to expand the heart and mind and body of all those who will listen to this. I seek for this to be an activation like none other. I intend for this to activate the hearts and minds and bodies of those who will listen to higher consciousness, higher wisdom. So allow me to be a channel, open me up, allow me to connect with the cosmic womb that is my essence, that is my spiritual self. Akhenaten was a space holder of the ancient Egyptian core teaching that brought the ancient Egyptians to their higher consciousness reality. That teaching involves the balance between the feminine and the masculine, the balance between the emotions, intellect, and body. The golden age was prosperous, abundant, full of beauty, creativity, harmony, connection to nature, and spiritual depth. Because these ancient Egyptians had the ability to cross dimensions with their extraordinary higher consciousness. The emergence of the left and right hemispheres of the brain with the glands that are connected to the 7 chakras, them being in balance, being in rhythmic flow with the emotions, with the intellect, we're able to open portals, open spaces within the body, outside of the body, to connect with these other dimensions. These dimensions that hold spaces where they can interact with higher beings. Higher beings such as Orions, Pleiadians, Arcturians, Sirians. That is the place you connect with these galactic beings. You do not connect with them through the terrestrial interaction. You connect through the space, holding the high vibrational space, this space that connects all, a frequency similar to 528 hertz, the frequency said to be in all nature. There's a space, a high vibrational space where all beings can come. Beings across the vast spectrum of light can come together and exchange wisdom and knowledge. The 5 senses that determine human reality is only 0.0001% of what actually is. Akhenaten sought to preserve this incredible teaching, the wisdom that he clearly remembered. But being a pharaoh of the cups of two ages, the golden age entering to the dark age, the Hindu see Earth through this perspective. Earth goes through 26,000-year cycle on its journey of crossing into every zodiac sign in the wheel. And during this cycle, this 26,000 cycle, there is a ascending and descending period, which you can see as expanding and contracting. The cosmic flow of breath. Our breath of life is very much in sync with the breath of the cosmos. Egypt saw the cosmos as very much the womb in which human is born from. So the breath expanding and contracting is a mere image of the expanding and contracting of the cosmos. Akhenaten, 18th dynasty, was during this cups, and he had the capital in the south along the Nile River, brought to the middle, below, between the original northern capital, the southern capital, right in the middle. And this capital that was determined and decided between him, the pharaoh, and the patriarchal priests. The capital, Armenia. And this capital was beautiful, bountiful, full of peace and spirituality and the sacred teaching of the balance between the feminine and the masculine, and how that opens a portal to expansiveness, connectivity to all things, the dimensions, beyond the five senses, beyond the 0.0001% of physical. But unfortunately, the Dark Ages that were taking the form of the patriarchy dominance decided that door would be closed. The door that connects I to infinity would be closed. That was the descending era, period, in Earth's cycle that has been going on and is reaching a new cycle after this golden age. So as we know in Egyptian history, Akhenaten and his precious capital was destroyed. And he was very much forgotten and erased from the Egyptian culture. The ancient Egyptian culture was erased as though he never existed. And what happened is the patriarchy, Egypt, Dark Ages, was very much placed on top of the ancient, balanced, prosperous Egyptian culture. Imagine hieroglyphs on top of hieroglyphs. The layer that we see hieroglyphs is reflecting the Dark Age, full of monarch and struggle. But the layer underneath represents the Golden Age of prosperity, spiritual connection to nature. There is an interesting ancient Egyptian spiritual practice I want to share with you all. It is the weighing of the heart. The weighing of the heart determines what happens after death. If your heart is heavy, you won't go to the other side, meaning you will cycle back to earth to clear that heavy heart. In order to ascend, you have to be light. Live with a light heart and you can ascend. That was the ancient Egyptian, before the Dark Ages, the Golden Age. Now with the patriarchy, society took the weighing of the heart during the process of death, after death, to determine if this soul will cross into the higher dimensions or will come back to earth to resolve, to clear the heavy heart, was transformed. This is the fundamental change. The fundamental change that has brought about the society, the culture in which we live in now. The arrhythmic intelligence, the intelligence that is disconnected from the harmony between the both hemispheres of the brain, the body, the emotions. This is the fundamental change. You can buy the lightness of heart. Priests, the priesthood transformed. And those who wanted to have a light heart could buy a light heart. So instead of weighing the heart in its authenticity, is it heavy, is it light, you could buy salvation. And there's a quote I want to share with you all. A profound quote, an eye-opening quote. And this quote was said in the documentary, The Pyramid Codes, episode 4, season 1. No money to be made if you aren't selling salvation. This is the priest's mentality, and this is the fundamental change, the shift that has still remained with us today. This is the priest. The priest. No money to be made if you aren't selling salvation. So what happened is enlightenment, spiritual wisdom was being sold. And how this connects with us today is enlightenment is being sold. I have been vigilant. I have been observing spiritual businesses, spiritual practices, and there are some thousands of dollars to be enlightened. One particular, it is 24,000, I believe, plus or minus $1,000 to be enlightened. Go to Sedona and listen to sound frequencies that can unlock your mind and give you the salvation. The salvation we talk about is the lightheartedness. That is the salvation. $2,000, $4,000, and you can be spiritually enlightened. But the ancient Egyptians understood, and Akhenaten understood, that it is the community. The community is what brings about the true spiritual enlightenment that we all seek. We all seek the balance between the emotions, the intellect, and the body, because we then feel a profound connectivity. We feel abundant. We feel prosperous. We feel creative, imaginative, able to perceive beyond our five senses. That comes to the community. The Golden Age was a community. Akhenaten understood this. Now, the priesthood and the accumulation of knowledge and wealth that we see today, is coming from the fear. Why do we hoard money? Why do we hoard money? Why are we in this behavior of selling salvation for thousands of dollars, as the priests did in ancient Egypt? You buy, and I will say you have a light heart. You must pay for your ascension. Pay for your light heart. The hoarding of wealth is because we fear. We fear the community. The Golden Age, we trusted, we supported, we had faith in the community, but now we don't. Think about it. If we lived a simple lifestyle, we would very much be relying on the community for support, for exchange. Like what we did back in the 1800s, most of the wealth was in the streets, not accumulated by corporations. But we fear the community so much so that we need to disconnect and separate ourselves from the community. When we hoard, we are separating ourselves. We don't want to participate in the community. We don't want to interact with them. We don't need them. We don't want to need them. We want to be solely in our bubble. And that's what we hand off to our children. We say, son, don't trust the community. I have given you millions of dollars in your heritage for you to solely rely on yourself, because I do not want you to rely on the community. Akhenaten understood. True wisdom comes from the environmental health vitality through the community. That is the wisdom. That is the enlightenment. Now, when we separate ourselves, disconnect from community through our hoarding based on our fear of the community, we cannot possibly have the full access of the cosmic womb energy that we, through our spiritual practice, independent on our stack of money, hope to gain. And I see this in the spiritual community, a big struggle with money and community. Want to participate in the patriarchy society that's been going for thousands of years, since the end of the last golden age. And at the same time, enter into the new era, the golden age. It's like pull in your money, all of your finances into the golden age for your children in case, something bad happens. But the truth remains. True enlightenment is based on the community ability to have environmental health and vitality. So what we are here to do, as the golden age understood, is we are here to lighten our hearts. We are here to welcome the community instead of either consciously or subconsciously separating, disconnecting ourselves by hoarding our knowledge and hoarding our money. The school systems teach us of this hoarding practice. The getting so attached to the five senses. That's the school teaching. The school teaching, the five senses, the perception through the five senses is how you should maneuver and navigate through life. We get so attached that we do not even begin to start working our other senses that are connected to the glands, that are connected to our 7 chakras and our auras. The Egyptian understood this. When we're not working those muscles, they become weak, as we know when it comes to the body. If we're not working, we're not stretching, we are not growing stronger. So being bound and solely relying on the 5 senses, we have this fear, therefore we have this accumulation, this competition, because we do not understand I to infinity in the very core wisdom I to infinity the teaching offers. The miracles are not created from the 5 senses. The miracles are created from the other senses, the senses that are closer to the cosmic womb energy that we are born from this, you could say, the shaman eye, the shaman pineal gland, than our force, our to make it happen, our competition. What is going to expand our mind is through our own imagination, activating our imagination, activating our creative levels. That is what's going to open us up. Because being bound and being so accustomed to your 5 senses is what leaves you cycling back to earth. But the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians, I will say, use the practices of, you could say, potions such as ayahuasca, the shamans use to connect to these other realms. And through that connecting with other realms, it prepared them for death. When they died, they can already know how to navigate. So they can cross into these realms, take different shapes, light body or a terrestrial body. And have the imagination, the creative level to create their reality. The create of the reality. Karma is not of a creator. Is a very much the opposite. It is a stumbling around. You don't understand I to infinity. You can't seem to maneuver yourself through the vast energy. You are just banging into things and getting attached to things, absorbing things, don't know how to move things, move on, let go. The creator is the creative. We have the poetry and the art and the science and the history representing the masculine. But the feminine is the birth, is the new life. That's why the feminine energy, which is the matriarchal, pronounce that right, was very much the energy of the golden age. And as we see, we are entering into this matriarchal energy again as we enter into our next golden age. So there's something about this matriarchal energy, and it represents the balance, the male and female. The feminine energy, the woman, represents the birth of new consciousness through literally the giving of birth, the new consciousness. The children represent a new consciousness, a possible new consciousness, a new reality. The manifestation of a new reality is very much a child. So the feminine energy, it represents the manifestation of a new reality, the manifestation of a higher consciousness, of a unique blueprint, of a unique soul. It's a soul energy. It is birthing new energy to this planet. Now, the feminine today is very much the foundation for this massive shift. Because the feminine, the woman, and the womb is able to connect to the cosmic womb and channel the cosmic womb in its higher intelligence, its rhythmic intelligence, into the womb and out in the form of a human. And that human is the higher consciousness. So that's why the woman was very much cherished, nurtured, because of that ability to manifest the cosmic creativity, the cosmic new energy through the body. The patriarchy was very much about honoring the hierarchy, the many gods. The many gods, the layering of gods, the hierarchy of gods. Higher gods, lower gods, gods in between, the hierarchy. Now the Akhenaten, very much about the solar energy. The solar energy is not a hierarchy, it is a unified consciousness. That is what the sun represents, and you see a lot of sun in the artwork of the capital of Armona. The sun energy represents the unified consciousness, the energy, the most organic form. When we are most organic form, we are just pure energy, just pure consciousness. We are not a form. Therefore, if we are not a form, we cannot identify ourselves in groups or as hierarchy, higher gods, lower gods. It's just pure energy. No definition, no label, pure energy. Pure consciousness, pure wisdom, pure balance between the masculine and feminine. So when I connect with ancient Egypt and the relationship dynamic, there are many people interested in the topic of the twin flame, or you could say beloved frequency. And I see these individuals, when I look at Akhenaten and Nefertiti, I see them as both whole beings. I see them as their own twin flame, meaning they are their own twin flame. They are both the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. Whole beings, mastered the left and right side of the hemisphere. The intellect, the rational mind, the history, the linear time, and the eternal mind. The mind open to time, the mind poetic, creative, the feminine. So relationships coming together, the very heart of it, the very energy of it was creation. Creation through biological family, and creation in the form of community. Community was their greatest success, not their ego. The disconnect, the ego created what? It created a lot of arrhythmic intelligence. As we notice, the Egyptian eras in the Dark Age after the Golden Age, okay, that Egyptologists believed to be the start. The Dark Age they believe to be pretty much the start of ancient Egypt, but ancient Egypt even goes beyond, way back before the Egyptologists guess at the oldest Egypt culture. It goes way before the Dark Age. However, the Dark Age, the arrhythmic intelligence showed up in the formations, you could say, even of the forgotten knowledge. There's forgotten knowledge and forgotten energy, tools on how to create these megaton block formations, such as the pyramids. That was forgotten, therefore unable. So the arrhythmic intelligence, through the patriarchy dark age, the disconnect with the community, the hierarchy is not community at all. It is disconnect. I fear you, I fear you, I fear all of you. I'm going to be in my richness, I'm going to be in my separation because I don't trust you all, and I don't want to learn to trust you. I don't want to learn how to take care of my community. And they teach us in school. They teach us competition. They don't really show us how to ask for help and how to help each other. Such as true golden age school would involve the highest grade student would work with the lowest grade student until the lowest grade student has learned that skill that they struggle at. Not applaud the high grade student and shame the low grade student. That is separation. That is arrhythmic intelligence. So the rhythmic intelligence at the heart of it always involves the brilliancy, the genius that comes through the rhythmic intelligence is from the community. The community. Now the hoarding of the knowledge and the hoarding of the wealth through thousands of dollars for enlightenment, you can be free, you can ascend through $20,000. That is the patriarchy bleeding into just a slight scratch at the true potentiality of the golden age. Is just a scratching at the surface, not diving deep into the power of community, the power of community coming together for the community instead of the ego, instead of one's own I have a purpose. There's a lot of I have a purpose going on. And that I have a purpose sometimes can come from a place of ego, a place of separation. I want to feel good about myself. I want to feel my life is meaningful. But in the golden age, ancient Egypt, and I feel I'm channeling on Akhenaten, was very much about we together have a purpose. Let's be creative together. Let's share our skills. Let's share our wisdom. Let's test each other so we can grow wiser together. But now it's my purpose, and I need to fulfill that. And my purpose involves my attention. The more attention I have, the greater purpose I am fulfilling. The higher purpose is the more attention. That's how we see higher purpose fulfillment. But higher purpose fulfillment, deeper into the Aquarian age, the golden age, is going to be about community, ability to have environmental health and vitality for all. That is what's going to determine. It's going to be the connection. The simplicity is going to return. The simplicity in sharing, the simplicity of receiving. Once we can overcome the psyche fear through the patriarchy dark ages of the hierarchy system and what happens when people try to cross into other caste systems, you can imagine, and the violence and the competition, like the climbing over the mountain of people and all of that darkness that comes through that mental dysfunctionality, the disconnect between the spiritual energy of knowing how to manifest without forcing things to happen. Competing with yourself, because the cosmos and the other people are yourself. It makes sense. That's what happens when you're in balance. is when the consciousness is like the sun, the energy is like 1,000-fold. But when the energy of the sun is fragmented, the energy is depleted, the energy is lesser. But when the energy of the sun is unified, feels the wholeness of its consciousness, energy is strong, powerful, renewable, and able to create miracles. The miracles that comes to the imagination, the channeling, the downloading. That's what the pyramids were used for intergalactic receiving through these other high dimensional beings coming to Earth. The pyramids were used to energize the space. It's like, in order to receive a high being, you notice you have to energize your space. You have to energize even your sacred temple or your room, which you're doing it in. Because higher beings, there has to be a somehow emergence of dimensions. So the pyramids created a space, a really high charged space, to receive these higher charged light beings. Such as when you're channeling higher wisdom, you have to channel in a peaceful state, a highly charged peaceful state. You can't channel it, with the loud rackets. The higher beings cannot reach you because the space has to be compatible with their space. Not exact, but compatible for them to bridge into each other's vibrational frequency. And that's what the pyramids did. A supercharged space, large, to receive these higher dimensional beings and charge the space, which charged the people. The space charged the people, and the people charge the space, and the people are opened, their senses open, where they have our ability to see extraterrestrial, or you could say light beings, Orions, Pleiadians, Arcturians, Sirians. But we cannot perceive them. They could be right there in their spaceship, right standing in my room right now. But we wouldn't be able to perceive them because we need to charge ourselves, to create a charged enough space, a higher enough dimensional space to receive them. Or we're not going to be able to perceive them until we can elevate the space just enough to create this sort of bridge between these dimensions. And that's what the ancient Egyptians were fabulous at, and that's why they were so imaginative and creative, because they weren't pulling imagination from their five senses. They were pulling it beyond their five senses, such as Nikola Tesla, even Steve Jobs, even Albert Einstein. All of these individuals were pulling creativity, imagination, innovative thinking, not through their five senses, what they're programmed in school to see as the truth of this reality. No, they were accessing, pulling energy from other dimensions, higher dimensions. And ancient Egypt knew how to do this wonderfully. They knew how to do this wonderfully. And through the imagination, they could expand themselves, and they had the connection to infinity. They knew how to create because they had the balance of the mind, emotions, and body, the balance. So they felt the spiritual connection. So they knew how to create. It's not just imagination. They knew how to implement it because they had the rhythmic intelligence on knowing how to do it. Because they had the community. The community is the sun. When the energy is unified, the energy is powerful.